All right. We're on the air. We're doing it. How's it going? Impromptu stream. Sort of. I mean, it's Thursday, so I'm supposed to be streaming anyway. But I hadn't planned on it. The internet's been terrible. And I checked today and was like, wow, the upload speed is actually decent right now for whatever reason. So I'm going to try to jump in there real quick. Going to try to jump in and do a stream. So that's what we're going to try to do. And yeah, hopefully we can make it a good one. Very chill today. No particular, topic, no particular focus today. We're just hanging out, we're chatting, we're doing some fun drawings as well. I highly encourage anyone, who wants to join in. You can go ahead and pick up a pencil, some paper. If you got an iPad, boy oh boy, you have so many different options in terms of programs you can use and stuff. Many of them free or low cost. Um, and this is one of my favorites. I'm gonna have to move the mic because I'm gonna be looking over here. I can't do that. If I'm doing that, then I'm not talking into the mic. It's a whole thing. So let's try to put the mic. Running out of cable. Running out of slack. So how's everybody doing? What's going on? Everything okay? I mean, everything's not okay. I know that, but in terms of how your week is going, how's that? Not the best cable draping I've ever done, but I think it'll get us through just fine. Sorry for the clicks and pops. Okay, I think I can see everything there. We've got this, we got that. Cool. Alrighty. So I don't know, this is random drawing, this is automatic drawing. So if you see anything in this, it's completely by accident. I want to make that clear. Okay. I mean, this kind of looks like a foot down here, doesn't it? What can we do with this guy? Huh? That's an arm. It's not whatever else you think it might be. It's an arm. Okay. And then his other arm is like back here, I guess. Beautiful. Beautifully done. Cool. I think we're good to go. And let me double check stream. We're okay with the stream too. Okay, cool. All right. I'm just going to go with it. I will not worry so much about the technical stuff. If you watched the last couple of streams, then you already know that it's an ongoing saga, just trying to deal with the internet over here and get it to perform decently. Not even well. I just need it to perform okay, you know. So that's sort of the ongoing goal. There we go. Let's get some different colors involved here. Please enjoy the sounds of cars outside. There's going to be a lot of that, especially this time of day. Anyway, how's everybody doing? What's been going on lately? Have you found a new hobby? Have you found new things to watch? New things to do on the internet? What color should we put back here? What about a very light purple? Nope. Not really what I was going for. We just need the suggestion of different colors and separations here, I think. Let me adjust this too. My video is kind of out of the frame. There's not too much I can do about that. Okay. What else do we want? I'm kind of seeing like a Koopa Troopa in this image so far. I don't know if that's resonating with anybody else. For the foot, I mean, I guess green is the easy answer, right? For what to do with like skin tones, if it is like a Koopa. Well, they don't have green skin. I'm just thinking of turtles in general. All right. What else? Channel news. I guess I can talk about the channel stuff a little bit. Yeah, so I recently, or somewhat recently, published that video. That's kind of the Switch retrospective. And I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. I wasn't. It's something that I had been wanting to do for a while and just never really. I don't know. I never felt like the time was right, or I didn't feel like the idea was solid enough, or something like that. But yeah, the general idea is something I've had for a long, long time. Because I knew at some point we were going to start seeing many, many more of the retrospectives, and just like, oh, the Switch is old now. Let's talk about it. I hate this, by the way. All these colors that I added are terrible. We're going to try something else. So that was an ongoing thing. I had tried to write a few different scripts for it, and it never quite worked out. It never quite hit the tone that I wanted to hit, or got into the subject matter the right way. I don't know. I was always very against the previous versions I had of that script. So hopefully it turned out okay for everyone else. I hope it was kind of fun to watch, and yeah, editing that one was definitely a big thing. And there's even more. There's a lot more that I probably could have done with the editing of that video. But it's just, I don't know, the time requirements, the amount of time you have to sink into editing a video, so that it really holds attention throughout the whole thing, especially for a video that long, is really tough. And I have a lot of respect for anyone who does that professionally, or like there are plenty of channels out there that are literally just one person, but they're still professional channels. They're making enough money to, have it be a career, basically. That's got to be so much work. That has to be so much work, not only to handle all the different aspects of production, which I do technically, but to do it on a consistent basis and have a consistent release schedule and everything. That would be wild. And yeah, just the editing alone is really its own job. And in fact, if I can admit something a little shameful, an assumption that I used to have about some of the bigger channels, because a lot of the channels I watch anyway, at least in the video gaming space, there are quite a few of them where as the channels grew and they were past 500k subs or something, it was very, very common for the creators, the hosts, the presenters, whatever, to say hey, by the way, I'm hiring an editor. I'm hiring an editor. I'm looking if somebody wants to apply, blah, blah, blah. Or I have multiple editors for all these different videos. And I will admit, I used to have negative feelings about that, basically. I used to think that was a little bit fancy pants. Oh, you really just can't be bothered to edit your own videos and stuff? It's that big a deal? You're making plenty of money for it. Isn't that a good motivation to continue editing stuff? But no, that is a completely unfair, assumption or judgment on my part. Yeah, it's definitely very difficult, and it's incredibly time consuming. And if you have another job, or you just have a bunch of other things that you have to be doing for the channel, it's crazy. It just doesn't work out, the scheduling doesn't work out at all. So I get that now. I definitely get that now. That's not really something that I understood I was going to say as a youngin', but I wasn't that young. This was probably just a few years ago. So yeah, I apologize in my mind. I apologize for all the imaginary things I might have said or thought about some of those creators at the time. But yeah, definitely unfounded. This is going somewhere, sort of. Maybe another kind of red behind this red. Warmer. be? Hmm. Almost looks like a national flag at this point, just the way the colors are arranged. It's okay. We're getting somewhere. So what else? What else is happening with the channel? I'm also working on the next video. Well, not right now exactly, but I recorded a bunch of footage yesterday, and started editing that together yesterday. So we'll see how that one goes. I think it's a fun idea for a video. Without giving too much away, it has something to do with Best of the Worst, the Red Letter Media series, if you know that one. So I guess that's kind of a clue as to what the topic will be. The topic isn't just that show in particular, but yeah, it's been pretty good, and I feel like it's another opportunity to do something that I really like to do, but I don't get to dip into all that often, which is to talk about YouTube itself, basically, instead of, professional TV shows or movies, professional animation. YouTube is its own media entity and an incredibly diverse one. And I think there's so much to talk about in terms of how, not the platform itself necessarily, but like how all the different users operate, how certain channels, rise to prominence and influence and all that kind of stuff. And also just the fact that you have the simultaneous existence of those massive, extremely profitable channels, right? And then, of course, stuff like my channel, which is many, many times smaller and more of like a hobbyist thing as opposed to a giant professional media enterprise. Um, so yeah, I think that YouTube studies could almost be its own topic. And in fact, if I had like all the time in the world and all the, a bunch of resources to really start like a completely different channel just focused on YouTube stuff, I think that would actually be pretty neat. You could do a lot with that. Um, Although I think in terms of expectations, people would also maybe associate that kind of discussion with like drama channels that track like, drama between big YouTubers and stuff, which is not at all what I'm actually interested in terms of, YouTube and channel fandoms, and thumbnail metas and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, just an observation. I really like talking about YouTube stuff, and this next video kind of dips into that without focusing specifically on just one channel, but more of like a subgenre within YouTube that also reaches over into the world of like podcasts, and even TV shows, actually. So anyway, without giving the whole game away and just saying everything that I say in that video, it's coming together, and I'm pretty happy with it. And again, just comes down to the amount of time required for the editing. So hopefully I'll have that up maybe over the weekend. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's been pretty fun so far. I guess we kind of have a landscape with this image so far. What do you think? Sort of like, I don't know, desert landscape, or, well, if we flip it this way, it's a totally different story, isn't it? Some sort of yellow ice cream. I don't think there are many yellow ice creams, are there? Anyway, but yeah, let's add some more to this. Let's add some detail, perhaps. Give us a little bit more to look at. I want to grab this cup. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to grab this color and then get something darker like that. Okay. This is just random. I don't know what I'm actually... feel like I tend to default to like skyline, like cityscape. But that's not, I don't know. That's not super interesting. We'll just keep going with it. Well, what else has been going on? I guess this has just turned into story time until we get people in the chat, or if there will be anyone in the chat. Had a really fun string of visits recently and appointments and stuff because I decided it was finally time to go back to the dentist. I hadn't been to the dentist for a long time. I was like, yeah, I should be, got to be mature. This is just stuff you have to do, whether you like it or not. Went to the dentist. I won't get into the nitty gritty details. I don't think everybody wants to hear about that. But it was a mixed bag. It wasn't the best experience. And thankfully, I'm not one of those people who like dreads going to the dentist. I think, isn't there even a word for it? Specifically, like the fear of dentistry or something. And I only know about that because it comes up in the disclaimer at the front of Psychonauts 2, because there's a whole level designed around like dentistry and gums and teeth and stuff, which is great. It's a great looking level. Anyway, so that was never me. I was never super, against it or afraid of going to the dentist or anything. Probably because I never had any issues with it, right? I was okay to just go in, you get your teeth cleaned, and they're like, oh, you're good. No cavities, no issues there. It was all fine. I did have a bunch of like orthodontic braces a couple times and stuff like that. So that's another story, and that was definitely like an unpleasant process. I wasn't a big fan of doing all that stuff. But regardless, did it all fine when I was a kid. It was no big deal. So skip ahead however many years it's been, 15 years maybe. And I had continued going to the dentist for a while. I fell away from it for a while. I didn't have dental insurance either because like I've been a freelancer for a long time, and of course you don't get benefits. You don't get benefits from whoever you're working for. So you have to pay for them yourself, and it's very, very expensive. Anyway, long story short, go back into the dentist. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be fine. Whatever, I do take pretty good care of my teeth and everything. Brush the teeth, all that good stuff. Flossing. And no, it was not good news. It was not good news at all. And in fact, one of the first things, oh my gosh, this is one of the very first things that the dental hygienist said to me as soon as I, sat in the chair and I was like getting ready for the cleaning and all that stuff. Basically right away, the dental hygienist just said something like, wow, your teeth are like really stained, like they're really yellow. I was a little bit taken aback by that, not because it's untrue. It's definitely true. I specifically drink a lot of coffee. I know that stains your teeth pretty bad. I don't think I do anything else that tends to stain teeth. I don't think that's the thing. I guess smoking would and stuff like that. Anyway, drink a lot of coffee, so they're kind of yellowed. I don't really care though. Like I've never really run into anybody who took that stuff super seriously. Even as a person living in LA, like I don't, I'm not an actor. I'm not going out for auditions. I'm not, I'm getting in front of the camera sometimes for this kind of stuff and for videos. That's not a huge deal. And as far as I know, nobody on the internet has been commenting on the shade, the color of my teeth. So I don't really care. It's whatever. As long as the teeth are healthy, it's fine. But beyond that, no. Some of the teeth are bad now, which is probably my fault. Yeah. And basically, it was kind of funny too, because it got to the point where the dentist came along, and they take their time, even if they're not busy doing something else. they'll just go hang out somewhere else around the office, so you don't actually see them until the end when they're supposed to check up on your teeth and talk to you about, um, you know, what's wrong, what's right, all that kind of stuff, give advice. And by the time the dentist actually came in, he was like, I guess he found it funny how bad some of the teeth had gotten. Where he was like, wow, these are really bad cavities. And he was just like taken aback. And maybe some of that comes from like, maybe it's excitement, because for a dentist, if someone has, issues and stuff that they need to get treated, that means money, right? That means like more revenue for them because they charge a lot of money for treatment. So I don't know. Maybe it was something like that. I thought it was kind of rude. I thought it was kind of rude to take it so lightly and with a humorous bent. I don't know. Maybe I should be appreciative of that, and maybe I prefer that to someone being super serious about it. But it's a whole story. I don't know. Maybe I'll. It's. I don't know if anyone. I'll get into that some other time if someone wants to hear the anecdote. But long story short, woof. I'm starting to develop an issue with dentists. Years and years after I first started going. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Welcome, Basic Geek. Thanks for coming back to the stream. It's great to have you here again. Thanks for coming by on short notice too. I know this is kind of a surprise stream, so I wasn't sure if anybody would be available in the middle of the day. Here we are. Anyway, Basic Geek says I finally got a letterbox. I would assume letterboxed, right? Which is the movie. What do you call it? Movie watching social media site, kind of, where it's you log all the movies that you've watched and like what day you've watched them, and you can leave little reviews if you want to and that kind of stuff. I assume that's what you're referring to, and I think that's great. I think that's great. I've used Letterboxd for a few years now, not for a terribly long time, maybe like 3 years. And I didn't even know about it for the longest time. It just wasn't something I was aware of. And then eventually a friend of mine who's also very much into watching movies and talking about movies told me about it, just shared the concept with me. Yeah, it's fun. It's been pretty good, I guess. I'm not a very active user when it comes to reviewing the movies or putting comments on them, stuff like that. But just in terms of logging the movies that I've watched, I pretty much always use it for that. I try to remember every single time that I've watched something, I will log it in there. And it's kind of fun, especially when the year's over, to look back and see like, oh, I watched X number of movies, and this is the month when I watched the most movies, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of neat. And it's also a fun way to see what some of your friends are watching and things like that. Anyway, if you feel like sharing your username, Basic Geek, feel free. And I guess I could also look mine up if you'd like to look at it. I always forget what my username is on here. Oh, it's my name. It's just my name. Actually, you know what I'm going to try to do? I'll just try to get you like can I put a link in the chat? Maybe. Let's see. Anyway, how's it been? Have you enjoyed it so far? Have you been logging a bunch of stuff? This is the tricky thing too. When you first set up the account, is to try to record, mark down basically every movie you've ever seen, and you just go through massive lists of movies from all different eras and everything. And mark it down, not the date necessarily, but just like, yes, I've watched that movie. I remember that part of the process. That was kind of fun and also kind of challenging, I think, because I don't have a very strong memory of every single movie that I've watched for my entire life. Yeah, that's all. But yeah, I'm sure you can log your Wes Anderson movies on there that you've been watching. Can I just do a link of this profile, please? Let's see if I can put this link in the chat or if YouTube will yell at me. that work? That's my profile. So if you'd like to take a look, there you go. That's the place to do it. What am I doing with this drawing slash digital art thing? What should I do with this? I want to smudge it. Yeah, let me get a nice smudge brush. Maybe dry brush. And do that. Let's see here. Turn these both up a little bit. Okay. Maybe the dry brush is just a little bit too dry. The texture is not my favorite. Turpentine? Whoa. Oh. I do like this texture, but boy, that was way too much. Okay. How about this? Okay. I mean, wait, it's doing way too much. But that's my fault. I can knock the size down. I do think there was a time when I want this to go back to just showing my screen on the iPad. Can you do that? Please? There we go. There was a time where I tried to put a bunch more reviews on Letterboxd, you know, and really keep up on it because I thought, hey, maybe that's another way to get people interested in looking at my YouTube channel, because I think I have it linked on my profile. I maybe also have the website linked on my profile. So I thought it would be a very organic way to get some other people to look at the YouTube channel, particularly people interested in movies. Because, and this is something that I guess I've talked about it a couple times, but not very often. But actually, the original reason that I even started this channel was to talk about art house movies, basically, which is still a term that I hate. I don't think art house is a very useful or even accurate term in a lot of cases. I'm not a big fan of it, and that was part of the point as well of what I wanted to do with my videos, is that I specifically wanted to try to make those kinds of movies feel more accessible. I wanted to get more people interested in what are typically considered art house movies. Hello, truck. Thank you. That's a big old engine there. Not that big a truck, but wow. Yeah, because I had just noticed over the course of, like, I don't know, 10 or so years of watching a bunch of art house movies myself, and getting really interested in them, is that there's always or nearly always a strong sense of like exclusivity and gatekeeping to that. And I'm very much not a fan of that in pretty much any community, unless there's like a really good reason for it, you know? Like maybe if there was an online chat room for heart surgeons, you know, then sure, that's a community that should be somewhat limited. You don't want just Joe Schmo off the street who doesn't know anything about heart surgery to be running his mouth in the forums and to confuse things and you know, get things wrong. But especially when it comes to media communities, I'm on board with them just being as open and accessible as possible. And in the case of art house movies and the people who really liked them, there was just, yeah, I just saw a ton of snobbery, and people who were just like, oh, you haven't seen, you know, XYZ, or you don't know these movies from this particular director. Well, then you don't get it, you know, like you don't understand what we're talking about. You don't deserve to I don't know, talk to us online or things like that. So I always hated that. And long story short, again, that was the premise for the channel at the very, very beginning, because the first real video that I posted, and I'm sure you can find it if you dig super deep, but the first video was about a movie called Downhill, which is the American remake of a Swedish movie called Force Majeure, directed by Ruben Östlund. Ostlund, something like that. Anyway, very good director, and the Force Majeure movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen that one, please seek it out. It might be on Hulu. Sometimes they get some good international releases. Anyway, that was the very first video, and I thought it was so depressing and kind of insulting that this American remake even existed. Because, in my opinion, there was no need to remake a really great movie that had just been released a couple years prior, uh, just with, English language audio and actors well known to Western audiences. Will Ferrell, or American audiences specifically. Will Ferrell and who was it? Julia Louis Dreyfus was in that too. I forget. Anyway, um, that was the very first video I posted to the channel once I started taking the channel more seriously and using it for more than just like sharing files and stuff. Um, and that is definitely not what the channel continued to be over time. Maybe that's self-evident. Of course, shortly after that, we had the video about Summer Camp Island, which did really, really well and continues to do decently. Um, so focus changed a little bit, but that was all just to say that I do have like a pretty vested interest in art house movies in particular and like film geek stuff. Uh, and in fact, for a number of years uh, here in LA, when I still had a car, it would be very difficult to do this now without a car. Um, I went to a video rental store once a week. I would go to the video rental store. There's still one left. Oh, there might be two. I'd have to check. But there's a video rental store in West LA called Cinephile, but not spelled like the word itself. It's spelled a little bit differently. And they're great. I don't even remember how I first went there or like how I heard about it. I honestly don't remember, but anyway, I started going there, and I did. They do like monthly subscriptions. Basically, you pay a certain rate, and you the Slayer, I think, you pay a certain rate, and you get to rent X number of movies at a time, and then you can just bring them back and get more whenever you want to see more movies. Obviously, it's a very old-fashioned concept these days. It was definitely an old-fashioned concept when I started going at all. But I loved it. I just loved the experience. Maybe partially because it felt pretty nostalgic. It just felt like kind of neat. Because I definitely remember going to the video store growing up, of course, and getting the different movies and even games. You could rent games for a while too. So that was a great resource for learning about a ton of different directors and film series and screenings and all kinds of stuff. Was just going to the video store and talking to people. Typically, like the people just hanging around the store as customers were very open to talking about movies because that was, a big part of why they were there in the first place. They just liked talking about it. So that would happen quite a bit, where I would just talk to random strangers about movies, which is not something I typically do. I also became friends with a couple of the people who worked there, and those guys were definitely like one of the best resources possible for learning about, again, new movies, new directors, etc. And just getting recommendations. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that this video store, I don't go there anymore because it wouldn't be very practical. But I think they have a thing where if you just call them up from anywhere, you can just ask for some movie recommendations, and that's sort of a way for them to do some marketing, but it's also just something they like to do. These are just people who are really into movies. And that was a really fun environment to be in, and I think that was also a bit of an inspiration for those other videos and trying to make those kinds of movies, serious movies, feel more accessible to people. And I think that's something that is still very much needed. I just haven't done a lot in that area since then. So there you go. There's my big rambling story about my Letterboxd account and about getting more interested in weirdo movies. Some of them obscure, some of them classics, some of them just so old that nobody seems to really care about them anymore. Which is a sort of special annoyance for me, is when maybe I'll talk to someone who just feels like, oh, if a movie is, I don't know, a certain age, if it's more than 50 years old, if it's more than 80 years old, whatever, they're just not interested in it, and that makes me very sad because there's so many cool movies from the 1910s. There are really cool movies from the 1920s, especially in the pre-code era of Hollywood, which is a whole giant topic of its own that's incredibly fascinating. Or like certain people just be like, oh, I don't want to watch silent movies. That's very sad. There's some really, really good silent movies and some really funny silent movies too. And not just like Chaplin stuff and Buster Keaton. Those are fine classics. I get it. But for example, there's some really great work from a woman director. I know, crazy, right? There actually used to be quite a few women directors in the pre-code Hollywood era as well. And one of them in particular, called Lois Weber, has some of like the funniest has some of the funniest silent film movies and shorts and stuff that I've seen. And like, some film geek people know about her stuff, but not much. It's not like her stuff is getting tons of screenings around town. You can find a Charlie Chaplin screening if you look hard enough. You can find old Buster Keaton stuff. You can find old silent movies here and there, maybe even with live musical accompaniment, which is great. But for some reason, her work and the work of so many other people just ends up getting left behind. Makes me very sad, and sort of reaffirms my feeling that we could be doing a lot more. We could be doing a lot more to save some of that work, and we can definitely be doing more to talk about that old work. And it's not about financial gain for anybody. Like, the people involved are long gone. Depending on like copyright stuff, some of their work may even be like public domain at this point, but it still matters. I still think it matters. I still think it's very interesting stuff to talk about. So who knows? Maybe I'll do some of that relatively soon on the channel. I look insane with this wide angle lens and the hair the way it is right now. This looks crazy. Anyway, Lois Weber, check her out. if you can manage to find any of her stuff online, highly recommend. Who else? Ooh, here comes a helicopter. Someone else, well, a much more famous old-timey director, but one that I definitely really like, is Carl Dreyer. Now, where was he from? Was he from Denmark? I think so. Denmark actually had a pretty substantial film industry in the early 20th century. Anyway, Dreyer, if you can find any of his stuff, which you probably can, his stuff has been much better preserved. Really cool stuff. I think Vampire is probably one of his most famous. There's another one called Days of Wrath, I think. Really good stuff. And again, like, if you can get past the fact that nowadays silent movies or anything close to it feel very foreign to us and kind of strange and outdated, which they are. If you can get past that part, there's so much to enjoy about those movies. And yeah, his stuff in particular is, I wouldn't say fun necessarily, but definitely interesting, incredibly creative, and the visuals are fantastic. He has some really fantastic visuals. And cinematography, his use of shadows is pretty great. Oh, look. It was almost standing up completely. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Anyway, Basic Geek, I hope I hope you've been enjoying Letterboxd so far. Yeah, feel free to add me. Is that a thing you do on Letterboxd? Or follow or whatever if you want to do that, and I'd be happy to check out your, logs and reviews on stuff there as well. So feel free. What brush am I using here? This is what I changed to Salamanca, not the smudge. Oh, okay. I lost track of that. Okay. Yeah, this brush has a really nice. Yeah, it's this stuff here where it kind of looks like linen or cloth or something. Unfortunately, I think over like a large space, kind of like this. I should make it more opaque, but you get the idea. The texture underneath starts to become very obvious and sort of repetitive, and I feel like that gets old kind of quickly. So I don't tend to use this brush too much, but it is pretty fun. Whoops. Well, it's okay. We're just going to try to mix some colors together and see what we get on the other end. Later areas. And I would like something a little bit darker and desaturated, but that's when we get into the territory of like browns. And I'm not very good at using browns, at least not so far. How's the bitrate holding up? It's been, I think, over 800 kilobytes basically the whole time, which is terrible for most folks, but actually pretty solid for us. So hopefully that's giving us a decent image quality on the stream. I hope so. Yeah, already too much of the darker colors. These neutrals would be kind of nice, right? Could that be our transition? More of that, and then we'll smear it all together and see what we get. Check this. We're good here. Cool. All right. Oh, is the music still going too? I should really just keep the headphones on. Oh, it is. Yeah, we got some Hey Arnold music in the mix as well, because I don't think that gets claimed by copyright bots. Very quiet. Sorry about that. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll just keep going for a while. I don't know. I was just kind of in the mood to stream today. So I hope it's cool with everybody if I just keep going for a while here. Until the internet breaks down, inevitably. But yeah, what else has been going on? Do I have any more of my famous fun stories that I could tell? I should just use Blackburn to smudge stuff. That's really... I should just stick with what I know. What else? Steam sale's going right... Well, wait, no, I think the Steam sale's over. I think it just ended today. But the Steam Spring sale is going on. I always get excited about Steam sales. Mostly because they make me feel justified in buying video games. Not the best way to spend your money, I admit that, but yeah, it is a fun time. They try to make the sales fun in other ways. Some of the sales have storylines, which is an interesting idea. I don't know if that's a choice I would have made myself, but it is an interesting idea. Anyway, I think I only got like 2 games in this particular Steam sale. What did I get? I got Persona 4. I got Persona 4 Golden, which I do have access to already via Game Pass, but it felt really silly to me playing that game on like the big TV screen because it wasn't designed to be a console game. It was designed to be a handheld game for the Vita. I think it was originally released, right? So it just felt kind of dumb to play it that way. I was like, oh, I have a Steam Deck. I could play it that way, and it would feel much better. Because I think it's more expensive on the Switch because it's still brand new there. Anyway, So I got that. I've been playing through Persona 4. It's a lot of fun. It is quite different from Persona 5. But yeah, still very enjoyable. Still has a lot of the same core mechanics. So it's not that big of a translation from one to the other. And what else did I get? Oh yeah. And then I got Nier Automata, finally, which is a game that I have started, honestly, 3 or 4 times. I think I've played the opening to that game 3 or 4 different times. And I'm not very proud of that. I should have just like stuck with it for one of those playthroughs and just really let myself get sucked into it and follow through with everything. For whatever reason, I just couldn't do it. None of those playthroughs stuck. You know, I got distracted by something else, or there was some other game that I wanted to play instead. So never got to do that. It's, of course, a game that I really do want to finish. It's something that I'm very excited to dive into at some point. But it's long. It's kind of obtuse in certain ways. And at least for as much of it that I've played, it's not especially good at, like, really holding your attention until you get very far into it. For a lot of the beginning stuff, it's just like, oh, here's some side quests. Here's a few kind of small areas. And that's where you're going to be hanging out most of the time. So that's just never really clicked with me. Have never gotten very far in it at all. But hopefully this is the time. And that's yet another... Sorry, the program crashed. That is yet another game that I thought would be especially good on something like the Steam Deck or just some portable system. Because I just I don't know, these really long games, I don't have the bandwidth or like the determination to play them for hours and hours at a time on the TV. But if I'm playing in handheld, whoa, look what happened here. What is that? What is this? Rectangle. I mean, we have to leave it, right? Did I do that? What happens if I mess with it? Wow, it's like it just... The information, the data for that corner just died. That's kind of interesting. Wow. Yeah, I think it just like lost stuff. It just lost information. I don't know. Anyway, powerful rectangle. Thank you. I also like your blue. I think that's blue from Foster's Home emoji. I assume that's what that is. Anyway, I'm better with longer games if I can play it handheld while I'm on the couch, and I also have something playing on the TV. I don't. It's too isolating if I'm just focused just on the game on the TV and that's all that's happening in the room. I'm not a big fan of that. So anyway, so we'll see. Hopefully I'll get through Nier this time, or at least most of the way through. I know you're supposed to play through it like 2 or 3 times, but we shall see. We'll see how it goes. I found the YouTube emojis. I don't think I even know where those are. Can I access those? Yes, I can. Here's a hand. Here's pink hand waving, which I could type in if I really wanted to. Face orange, biting nails. Yeah, this is some good stuff. Okay, I'll stop. I shouldn't be... I shouldn't be adding a bunch of emojis to the chat. Let's do a face. Why not a face? We always do a face. Let's do another face here. No, let's have it be sort of the same color. Yeah. How do I make the emoji menu go away now? Like that. Cool. That works well. Okay. By the way, only true fans know which episode of Hey Arnold this song is from. There we go. Fix that. Is it not working? Oh, I'm just on the wrong layer. That's my fault. Okay. We need those to be larger. Okay. Something over here. Yeah, so Geek, I don't know what you've been logging in your letterbox lately. I was just on there today because I finally watched a movie called The Gate. It's a movie called The Gate from sometime in the 80s, I would guess mid 80s. And it stars Stephen Dorff, I think, as a small child with no neck. He's like the opposite of my look. He has no neck. And it's basically like a children's horror movie where like it's definitely in the horror genre somewhere, but it's not, the horror isn't so serious that you're like, oh, this is for adults, but it just happens to star kids. I think the horror kind of matches kid tone. But basically Stephen Dorff is a child, and at this giant suburban house where his family lives, they've pulled up a tree, and underneath the tree is a portal to hell, which they accidentally uncover. And as you might expect, this causes some problems. There's some issues that arise when they, create an open lane between hell and their backyard. So things start to happen, and of course the parents are away, so just the kids on their own have to handle everything, and they do so with like varying degrees of success. Anyway, it's a movie that they talked about on RLM a long time ago for one of the review episodes. And I was like, oh, that looks kind of neat. I had never watched it, but it happens to be free right here on YouTube right now. So I checked it out, and it's pretty good. It's okay. It's definitely not my favorite thing. But yeah, it's like a little gateway horror movie for kids to get into. I think it actually holds up pretty well, except for some of the language, I guess. There's some naughty words in there that we don't approve of anymore. And some genuinely kind of horrific stuff that's sort of neat to look at in there, and some interesting special effects. But yeah, it's okay. It's decent. So I've logged that away in my letterbox. I didn't do a rating or anything, but you get the idea. Let's see. What do we do with this fella now? No. Layer that. This is good now. Okay. I thought all basements led to hell. I mean, that hasn't been disproven, right? I think that's still a possibility, but I don't think I have a basement right now in this building. Not an underground one, anyway. I feel like it has to be underground to even qualify as a basement, right? Is that in the dictionary? On the right layer still? Yeah, it's fine. We could do some more with these shapes here. Let's do something like this. Looks too much like a regular human, doesn't it? Okay. Do this. How long have I been streaming, by the way? How long? Let's see. On OBS. I have been streaming for about an hour. Okay. All right. Well, that's a decent chunk of time. We'll see. We'll see how long we keep going here. But yeah, I think the time of day might be tricky, which is a shame because this is apparently the time of day when the internet holds up decently well. So that's too bad. Gil, welcome back. I think we've seen you here a couple times. Thanks for coming back to the stream. Asks, have you seen Unicorn Wars? I have not yet. I am very much aware of it. It's Alberto Vasquez again, right? Who famously directed Bird Boy, not Birdman, that's a different thing, but Bird Boy, the weird animated classic, modern animated classic out of Spain. Very depressing adult animation film, I guess we would call it. Same director, I think. I'm probably getting his name wrong, though. Anyway, yeah, I'm aware of it. Not yet. I haven't seen it yet. I know it released a while back, but now it's getting some American distribution. I saw a poster for it, actually, at a theater in Santa Ana where I happened to be like a month ago. And I was like, yeah, I think I would like to see it in theaters. I think it's about like, isn't it about like war on drugs kind of stuff? I know there's a drug component to the movie. But I haven't even watched trailers. I kind of don't want to see a trailer just because like this guy's movies are so visually interesting. And different and weird that like I don't want to spoil that aspect for myself, I guess. So I've held off on all that. He made a sequel to Decorado. Okay. Well, I haven't seen that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I am excited for that one. Haven't seen it yet. If I can see it in a theater, then I will. Otherwise, I'll just I'll track it down somewhere. And Gil says I saw already. Oh, that's cool. Well, if you want to share some like general impressions about it, not super. I mean, I don't know if it's a spoilery kind of movie anyway. But if you have any impressions you would like to share, go for it. Ugo's here. Welcome back, Ugo. Good to see you. Hope you're not cutting work for this. Says Alamo Drafthouse has it playing all over Texas, but Dallas, the closest one would be in Austin. Okay. Yeah, I think, did Alamo Drafthouse start in Austin originally? I've only been to an Alamo Drafthouse once, by the way. It was here in LA, and it was not a great experience, but I don't know how much of that was their fault. Anyway, but yeah, it makes sense. That's their kind of thing. They tend to pick up more obscure stuff, you know. It's kind of meta against war movies. Okay, so it's like, so it is a war movie, but it's critiquing war movies, I assume. Yes? That's what I'm getting from that anyway. But yeah, I'm sure plenty of the art house, or independent theaters here in town will be showing it at some time. I just haven't looked yet. I can look right now though. Unicorn Wars streaming. Not streaming, showtimes. Unicorn Wars showtimes. See what we get for that. I'm at work right now. Oh boy, well you be careful. Don't let me get you in trouble. Okay, so it's being distributed by G Kids. That's not too surprising. Decent score on Rotten Tomatoes. What Well, you can stream it for money, I guess. But yeah, I would rather see it in a theater if I was going to be paying for it. Right now, the theater it brings up is Lumiere Music Hall in Beverly Hills, which I have never been to. Yeah, I don't even know which one that is. Huh. I'm sure there's some other ones showing it. I'm just, maybe I missed the initial push. Anyway, I'll look into that. And I'm sure that some of the Alamo Draft houses here too will be showing it. It would be really cool. It would be really cool if they showed it over at Tarantino's theater. I think he bought another theater recently, but his sort of main theater that I like going to is called the New Bev or New Beverly Theater. And the great thing about his theater, other than like the programming and the people who work there and stuff, is that they show everything on film prints. Like it's not allowed to show digital prints. I don't think they even have a digital projector there. So if they could get a film print of Unicorn Wars, I think that would be an incredibly fun way to see it, especially something that colorful. I don't know. I think it would be neat. But who knows? They don't do a ton of contemporary stuff at that theater. It's a lot of older things and grindhouse stuff. Some of which I think some of the film prints they show there are just like Tarantino's personal copies, and he'll just loan them to the theater for a little bit. But anyway, it's definitely on the list. I will get around to seeing that movie at some point for sure. Because yeah, Bird Boy was neat. I don't know if that's exactly the right word to describe it, but very different, definitely very visually interesting. So yeah, a neat artistic sensibility, and the subject matter this guy seems to choose is also very interesting. So yeah. Go. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, we've kind of got something going here now, right? Why does this just not work sometimes, the color picker? What am I doing wrong? Now it works. Okay, thank you. Okay. These guys are having a lovely day, obviously. You also saw it in a film festival. That's cool. Was it specifically a film festival for animated stuff or just some independent features and things? And Ugo says, I don't know why Lubbock would get it, but not Dallas. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dallas is a larger metropolitan area than Lubbock, Texas. Is Lubbock where Buddy Holly was from? Or am I getting that mixed up with something else? Either way, that is kind of funny. I guess it just comes down to which theaters are willing to show it or, have access to it or stuff like that. Or like potentially which distributors are working with the theaters. I know that can be a big factor too. Okay. Well, what if, hear me out, this is a very uncreative solution for me, but I still like it. What if we just turn this into like a mountain range instead? Make it sort of a true landscape. This, maybe here. Maybe. And then I'll redo do this other texture as well, yeah, but just some general, you know, very basic Rocky Mountain streams and such here. Okay. It's a little too even, but smaller. I don't know. I've tend to doodle a lot of mountains, so it's not exactly creative or experimental territory for me. I just didn't like whatever was happening with that, like, city and the buildings and all that stuff going on. And then where's our light coming from here? What is the light doing this time around? I guess it seems like these clouds, I now assume these are clouds, it seems like they're catching light more to the left side, I suppose. Maybe not. Maybe the right side. So we'll say that there would be more shadows on the left side of the mountains. So with that, just do some of these, you know, just very basic kind of placeholdery stuff. It's looking so good. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Maybe too kind. It's okay. Yeah, this has just changed so many times. That's what happens with a lot of my visual stuff. Is I'm like, I'll change the idea in process multiple times, and sometimes I'm happy with what we get, and sometimes I'm not at all. Anyway. But yeah, I assume general positive feelings about Unicorn Wars, though. Does that seem... And I know, Ugo, you were mentioning that the other day on the Discord as well, I think, right? So if you have any... if you have any particular feelings on it as well, please feel free to share. But I assume... I mean, it seems in general it's going over pretty well, so I would assume that, you know, you guys being into animation and weird animation and stuff, that you would enjoy it too, but just a guess. I don't know. Okay, yeah, now let's do some stuff with this awful kind of fabric texture underneath here. Maybe we should just yeah, let's just wipe it. It's fine. Now we go to painting. Maybe we should try to use one of these sort of watercolory things, because it's definitely something I need to get better at. Gil says, who are the two people or rocks laughing? Good question. What would you like to name them? I mean, if you were hoping that they were specific, like, I don't know, real world or political figures. I don't think that's the case. Are they connected? They seem kind of connected down here, don't they? Okay. Now what blue should we... Maybe a lighter blue, lighter neutral, and then sort of build it? Maybe? No, we're just messing around. Too large of a brush. And also I think we're on the wrong layer. Let's be careful about that. I want this to be under those lines that we just made. Okay. Too small. How about that? Okay. Okay. That. This is a mess over here too. Now let's go even lighter and just kind of fill in some of the right side of the peaks, just so there's something there. I don't want it to look completely empty. Even lighter, please. Just do some of this, so there's something there. And now, hopefully, if we go back in the darker areas that are supposed to be sort of shadowy parts, hopefully we can kind of build it so that the shadow, the differences in light look somewhat natural, but I don't know. Maybe from a distance this will look okay. Because up close, woof. I can try to blend it too, but some things. Okay. Needs to extend as well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Oli and Roxanne. Is Roxanne one word or is it Roxanne like Mr. Rock? Have I played any Ace Team games? I don't think so. What are those? Are they good? I hope they're good. Sorry, Bowley and Roxanne. I'm gonna guess which one's which. That's okay. This brush is no. This brush. I want to be this brush. How's that? Is that alright? Wow, the colors actually look better on the iPad. They look very dull on screen. Sorry about that. I mean, this is a giant mess, but it's something, I guess. There. Go back to our layer with all the spongy things going on. Larger. Try to make it just a little bit more painterly. Doing a little tiny bit of blending so that we're not seeing like those weird strokes and stuff in the background. Xenoclash, Rock of Ages, Deadly Tower of Monsters, The Eternal Cylinder. I don't think so. What platform? Do they mostly release PC stuff, or is it multi-platform stuff? Is it older PC stuff? I'm always down to talk about retro PC games for sure. I do think this is looking better, but it's still not exactly looking the way I would like it to. Let's go back to some of the Animal Crossing music. Okay. Multi-platform, gotcha. Okay. Well, hold on. I just want to punch some of it into my phone so that I don't completely blank on this stuff, after the stream wraps up and everything. But I'm always in the market for new games. A friend. Oh wait, I've played some of the Rock of Ages games. I was wondering if those were the ones with the giant rocks, or if I was just thinking of something completely different. But I've definitely played one of the Rock of Ages games. I don't think anything else from them as far as I know, but I'll keep stuff on my phone. 2008 up until now, so they've been around a good while. It's still kind of crazy to me that it has been like 15 years since 2008, but whatever. A friend of mine was telling me about Brotato, completely different kind of game, but still. I was looking at that on Steam earlier. So Brotato, Brotato, and I forget what the other game was in that style. These are games that are in the style of Vampire Survivors, which I think we still need like a good genre name for that kind of game. But either way, they look pretty neat, so I might try those out soon. And it helps that they're cheap. Anything cheap, I am very, very willing to try out, Yeah, this smudging actually looks decent. I'm kind of surprised. Doesn't exactly look like mountains, but whatever. Kind of looks like snow cones, like poorly snow cones with poor gradients. Okay. Yeah. I need to do something with this orange background too. I don't think it looks very good. Okay. Auto bullet hell. That's not bad. That's actually very good. Did you come up with that, or are you stealing that from somebody? Don't worry, I'm not trying to make accusations, but that's pretty good. Yeah, because it's definitely not. I think it would be a stretch to just say that they fit into the general bullet hell category. That's too broad, and it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't describe that key component of like you're not triggering attacks with button commands or anything. Came out with it. That's great. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Auto bullet hell. How could we shorten that even further, like a nickname for it? Not auto hell. I don't think that would work. AB. It's an AB game. What am I doing? I'm adding some kind of gradient to this weird background stuff. Let's do it with red. A cool red. Okay. Less. I was worried for a second. I thought I forgot I was on a different layer. I was like, please don't mess up Boley and Roxanne. Really light. Oh, that's gonna look funky. Not what I was going for, but that's okay. What would you even call this color? Some kind of flesh tone? Maybe not. Not even peach? It's a very strange one. Anyway, let's blend some of this stuff. See how it goes. Low opacity, good brush size. Cool. Anyway, so yeah, I'll have to check out some more games from that studio. I know some of those Rock of Ages games can be really cheap on sale. So that's nice. So I'm hoping that some of their other stuff will also be pretty cheap and I could pick up on sale. That would be cool. There it goes crashing again. Sorry about that. Too many strokes, too much information here, and it just dies. But yeah, and I don't know if you're into the Vampire Survivor stuff. I know some of the other folks I've talked to on streams and things are very into it, and some of my Steam friends, are very big on that style of game too. I just haven't kept up with all of them. I really like Vampire Survivors itself, and I still play it a lot. But yeah, there's so many more in that category now, beyond just Brotato. So it's kind of neat. It's neat to see, and it's even better when they're not just big ripoffs. When they actually are trying to do something pretty different. I definitely appreciate that. Okay, so let's just. It's nice that we get this sort of like dappled sponge kind of look when we go light, but then we can just really blend it if we press down harder. That's nice. Because there are times when I don't want to lose the texture, Don't want anything looking too smooth. So what else did you get to see at that film festival then? Was it some good stuff? I don't think I've ever been to a film festival as far as I remember. Definitely not any of the big ones. They've been around, and especially here in LA, there are quite a few like smaller festivals throughout the year. And I just either forget to look into it or I just never find out it's happening at all. So I haven't really been to any, I don't think. This is kind of interesting. Probably wasn't the best idea to have like a similar color behind their heads. I feel like it's a little too close, but also whatever, I guess. And for some reason, I put this on the same layer as the blue background, so we might get some of that mixed in here. I mean, it looks more of something. Yeah. Still, not exactly my best work, but I don't know. It's fine. Maybe do some more stuff with the cloud layer back there. Yeah, why does this just not work sometimes? I don't get it. Come on. No? Just not gonna let me grab that? Nope. Wow, really not working. Alright, I'll just have to guess. Does that look kind of close? Kinda. Too saturated for sure. Something like this instead. It's closer. Okay. Yeah, so we want it to be darker on the left side of the individual. What do you call them? Cloud curves? I don't know. And then, of course, progressively lighten up towards the right side. I mean, we're really just throwing a bunch of ingredients in the pot here. Like, just whatever's gonna work. Okay. Anyway, Ace Team games are incredibly cheap. That's good news. Immediately makes me more, likely to check some of that stuff out. And I haven't tried Vampire Survivors. Okay. Well, it's what? I think it's up to like $5 full price, $5 US at the moment. But yeah, it goes on sale for like $3 or something. So it's nothing crazy. But yeah, it is pretty darn good. I don't know. I do enjoy it a lot. I specifically enjoy it on the Steam Deck quite a bit. But yeah, it's the whole thing. It's just addictive because of that core gameplay loop, and it can just be so much fun to make some really just broken builds along the way. So it's not the most, I mean, it is pretty original. It's not the most artful thing in the world or whatever in terms of narrative and storytelling. But definitely still very notable, and of course notable for its impact as well, with all these copycats and stuff. Oh, there it goes again. Well, if it keeps crashing like this, my gosh, I mean, not so much more I can do if it keeps crashing. But either way, this has been pretty fun. I'm glad I got to stream today, just as a spontaneous thing. Yeah. Of course, again, sorry if the image is bad, but yeah, thank goodness. The internet's held up okay for like image quality and bitrate and stuff. Relative to my streams, it's been okay. It's not dropping like crazy, and I'm very appreciative of that right now. It's kind of nice. Thin this out a little bit, though. Yeah, that one color's too dominant or something. Okay. And give some texture back to these areas real quick. This yellow is very out of place, isn't it? This like really saturated yellow. Sort of cadmium yellow, I guess. A personal favorite. Well, it's it's not cohesive in any way. I feel like we have like 3 completely different drawings here. The mountains in particular, I don't know. I don't know what. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of silly. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's okay. I could always change this later or give up on it completely. But regardless, it's always kind of therapeutic just to work with some of this stuff. Just mess around and do some automatic drawing, you know? But yeah, it looks slightly better. Yeah, it's something. Oh well. Doesn't make sense at all for the, you know, the clouds to be all yellow, like it's twilight time, and the sky is just blue. But there we have it. I am pretty happy with Boley and Roxanne. You know, they seem like a chummy couple of guys, or one entity that's connected at the hip or something like that. So yeah, this is what we've got. It's been an interesting experience. Anything else? Anything else I should like really get into before wrapping up here? Probably not. Oh, I've streamed for about an hour and a half. That's not too bad. It's actually kind of funny because despite the fact that like not many people who watch the channel are into the streams, like they get relatively low, you know, view numbers compared to actual videos, which is totally understandable. Despite that, in terms of like the algorithm and YouTube doing its weird thinking behind the scenes, the streams, in the opinion of YouTube, are actually some of my best stuff, because more than pretty much anything else, YouTube cares about watch times. And even if there's just a couple people hanging around the stream, it means that the watch times for the streams are like collectively a couple hours, as opposed to a few minutes for the individual videos. So YouTube is like, wow, your streams are awesome. We're going to keep recommending them to like the 20 people who are interested. And meanwhile, a lot of the individual videos just get buried right away, you know? So it's kind of frustrating. It's also kind of fine. It's a little bit, I don't know, like I wouldn't mind streaming all the time if it was a thing that people were really into. And we got, you know, there's consistent attention and like decent view numbers and all that kind of stuff, or like we found a good time where a lot of people could show up, or if my internet actually supported live streaming better. But that's just not what the case is right now. So I do still kind of trying to balance weekly streams, actual videos, that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's been fun. It's been a fun one. Sorry for giving such late notice on this stream. I know people like to know in advance, you know, before we go live. Anyway, Football Lover says, Gil, that's not for me. Vampire Survivors is amazingly chaotic. I do think it's funny that the chat separates GL whenever it shows up. Especially because for like speedrun streams and gaming streams, GL just means good luck. So it's a very common thing. But the chat is like, oh yeah, we gotta single this out. That's kind of funny to me. I'm into you doing it all the time. Maybe at some point in the future, if it works, and if people cared about it, you know, I would try streaming more. But yeah, for the moment, I'll you know, keep doing the videos and stuff and see how those do. This is our art. Maybe I'll post it to the posty community part of the channel. I don't know. But there it is. And thank you, live viewers, for contributing to the creation of this beautiful piece. which doesn't have a title yet, but I have a feeling the title would have something to do with our favorite guys here. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll probably wrap it up then and move on. It's about time for me to do some other work. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a nice, relaxing stream for me, at least. And as I said at the very beginning, there is another video in the editing stage right now, so hopefully I'll have that up by the weekend, maybe, and you can watch that if you feel like it. But I think that's it. Thank you so much to everybody coming out live for the stream. Always appreciated. I wouldn't want to be doing it at all otherwise. And yeah, thank you to anybody watching the archive version after the fact. Hope it wasn't too cringy. And we'll see. I'll try to stream next week as well, hopefully on Thursday. It's all kind of up in the air. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.